Admiral Jack Morrison stood on the bridge of the U.S. Gerald R. Ford, watching the culmination of 6 months of planning unfold across the Pacific. Carrier groups from 5 nations carved precise patterns through the waves below, their synchronized movements a testament to thousands of hours of joint training. Raymond PAC 2045 was shaping up to be the largest naval exercise in human history. "Sir, something's wrong with our readings." Lieutenant Carlos Ramirez's voice cut through the steady hum of bridge operations. The young radar specialist's fingers flew across his haptic display, bringing up multiple confirmation screens. Multiple contacts just appeared at high altitude. "They're massive, sir." Morrison crossed to the station in 3 quick strides, his coffee forgotten. The readings made no sense. Objects larger than any known aircraft, descending from the edge of space in perfect formation. His first thought was a system malfunction, but as klaxons began blaring across multiple ships in the formation, he knew this was something else entirely. "Get me fleet-wide," he ordered, voice steady despite the adrenaline surging through his system. "And somebody tell me what the hell we're looking at." "Sir, incoming transmission. It's being broadcast on all frequencies." Communications Officer Sarah Wells' voice wavered slightly. "You need to hear this." A sound like liquid metal being poured over crystal filled the bridge, resolving itself into words that bypassed their translation systems entirely, speaking directly to their minds. "Primitive vessels, you have entered waters claimed by the Krethak Dominion. Your planet's resources are now subject to salvage rights under Galactic common law. You have 1 planetary rotation to surrender your naval assets and withdraw to your landmasses. Resistance will result in immediate extinction-level response." Morrison's jaw tightened as he watched the alien ships descend, massive, crystalline structures that seemed to flow and reshape themselves as they moved. They were beautiful in a terrifying way, like watching a tsunami approach. The largest was easily 3 times the size of his carrier. "Sir," his XO, Commander Helen Rodriguez whispered, "what are your orders?" Morrison studied the tactical display, years of training kicking in. The aliens had positioned themselves in a classic encirclement pattern, apparently assuming human vessels would behave like the prey species they'd encountered before. Their formation was perfect for space combat, but they were fighting in Earth's ocean now. "Get me fleet command," he ordered, then turned to address the bridge crew. "Ladies and gentlemen, what we do in the next few minutes will be remembered for as long as humanity exists. We are about to give these visitors a lesson in why you don't threaten a species that's been fighting the sea itself since we first put logs in the water." The bridge crew straightened at their stations. They were scared. Only a fool wouldn't be. But they were Navy. Fear was nothing compared to duty. "All stations, battle conditions," Morrison continued. "Initiate EMCON protocols Delta through Kilo. Let's show our friends up there what electronic warfare really looks like. Weapons, bring up defensive systems, but do not, I repeat, do not paint any targets yet. Let them think we're as primitive as they assume." He turned to his tactical officer. "Lieutenant Cooper, calculate firing solutions for every ship in that formation. I want options when the diplomacy fails. And it will fail. They're positioning for an attack run." The alien ships had settled into a holding pattern now, their crystalline surfaces reflecting the morning sun like a school of predatory fish circling their prey. Their confidence was almost palpable. They'd done this dozens of times before, subjugating primitive species who relied on chemical propulsion and physical projectiles. Morrison allowed himself a slight smile. He thought about all the other would-be conquerors who'd underestimated humanity over the centuries, who'd assumed superior technology meant assured victory. They were about to learn what every naval commander in history had learned the hard way. The ocean forgives neither arrogance nor poor planning, and humanity had spent millennia mastering its chaos. "Sir," Lieutenant Ramirez called out, "they're powering up something big. Energy readings off the charts." "Steady as she goes," Morrison replied, his voice carrying across the now silent bridge. "Let them make the first move. We're about to show them why humanity's naval traditions don't just survive, they evolve. The battle for Earth's oceans was about to begin, and Admiral Jack Morrison intended to teach these aliens why thousands of years of naval combat experience trumped overconfidence every time. Admiral Morrison studied the holographic display as the alien vessels adjusted their formation. His great-grandfather's voice echoed in his memory, telling stories of Midway over Thanksgiving dinner. Sometimes, Jack, the best trap is the one your enemy thinks they're setting. Launch the drones, he ordered, watching as dozens of autonomous decoys deployed from the carrier group's vessels. Each one was broadcasting enough electromagnetic noise to mimic a capital ship. Initiate Operation Phantom Wake. The plan was audacious, perhaps even reckless, but Morrison had spent his entire career studying naval warfare's greatest victories. Midway, Trafalgar, Salamis, they all shared one common element. The overconfident force never saw the real threat until it was too late. "Sir, the Krathak are moving to pursue our southern element," Lieutenant Cooper reported, tracking the alien formation's response. "They're taking the bait." The alien ships, their crystalline surfaces gleaming like predatory fish in the morning sun, began to split their formation. They followed the seemingly chaotic retreat of human vessels, their sensors detecting what appeared to be panic-driven escape attempts in multiple directions. "Time to show them why we still train for rough weather," Morrison said, noting the approaching storm front on his tactical display. "Signal the Zumwalt group. Execute weather pattern Delta 6. Commander Rodriguez raised an eyebrow. "Sir, you're using the Typhoon. That's insane." Morrison finished with a grim smile. "Exactly. They're expecting us to run from the storm. Instead, we're going to use it as cover. Signal all vessels. Prepare for heavy weather operations." The alien commander's voice boomed across all frequencies again. "Your attempts at evasion are futile. Submit to salvage authority or face immediate destruction." Morrison keyed his comm. "This is Admiral Morrison of the United States Navy. In response to your demand, I quote Admiral David Farragut. Damn the torpedoes. Full speed ahead." He switched to fleet-wide broadcast. "All vessels, battle hymn." The opening notes of Amazing Grace began broadcasting from every human ship in the formation. It was an old tradition, one that dated back centuries, a final song before battle. Let the aliens think it was a prayer for mercy. They'd learn soon enough. "Sir," Lieutenant Ramirez's voice cut through the music. "The alien fleet, they're spreading their formation even further, trying to encircle our scattered groups." "Perfect." Morrison activated his tactical display. "All vessels, execute Midway Protocol." "I say again, execute Midway Protocol." The retreating human ships suddenly altered course with precision that belied their apparent panic. Each group turned to face the gaps in the alien formation, their movements synchronized with decades of combined naval experience. The storm front rolled in right on schedule, massive waves and sheets of rain obscuring visual contact. "They're powering up weapons," Cooper reported. "Energy signatures off the charts." "Let them waste their shot," Morrison replied calmly. "Signal the submarine groups. Begin Phase 2. Deep beneath the waves, nuclear submarines that had been lying in wait began to move. The aliens, focused on the surface chaos and confident in their superior technology, had never bothered to look below. They were about to learn that humanity had mastered warfare in 3 dimensions long before reaching space. "Sir, initial shots from the alien fleet. They're missing. The storm is disrupting their targeting." Morrison allowed himself a small smile. The aliens had fallen for the oldest trick in naval warfare. They'd let their quarry choose the battlefield. Now they were fighting in conditions they'd never trained for, against an enemy who'd spent centuries mastering combat in Earth's most hostile environments. "All vessels, weapons free," he ordered. "Show them why humanity's navies still train for combat in storms. Signal all submarine groups. Execute Torpedo Run Alpha." Let's remind these visitors why Earth's oceans have been the graveyard of overconfident invaders since the dawn of warfare. The battle was about to begin in earnest, and Admiral Morrison knew the aliens were about to learn a harsh lesson. Technology meant nothing without the experience to use it effectively. The ghost of Midway was about to claim new victims. Lieutenant Commander Kate Storm Rider Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the U.S. Zumwalt, her hands gripping the tactical rail as 30-foot waves crashed against the stealth destroyer's angular hull. Around her, the storm raged with primal fury, exactly as planned. Alien vessels moving into predicted search pattern, her tactical officer reported. They're having trouble maintaining formation in these conditions. Rodriguez smiled grimly. The Zumwalt had earned its reputation running combat drills in the worst conditions Earth's oceans could produce. Now those countless hours of storm training were about to pay off. "Status of our rail guns?" she asked, watching the alien vessels struggle against the mounting waves. "Charged and ready, ma'am. Storm interference is minimal on our targeting systems." That was the beauty of the Zumwalt's design. While the aliens relied on energy weapons and sophisticated targeting systems that the storm disrupted, the destroyer's electromagnetic railguns were practically immune to weather conditions. Sometimes the old ways were best. Multiple alien energy signatures detected, her sensor operator called out. They're firing blind into the storm. Brilliant beams of plasma cut through the rain, their power dissipating in the turbulent atmosphere. The aliens were used to the clarity of space combat. They'd never learned to fight in conditions where you couldn't see your target. "Helm, bring us in on attack vector Charlie," Rodriguez ordered. "Let's show them why they call me Storm Rider." The Zumwalt surged forward, its wave-piercing bow cutting through mountainous swells. The ship's stealth systems, combined with the storm's electromagnetic interference, made them practically invisible to alien sensors. "Ma'am, incoming transmission from Admiral Morrison." The thunder rolls. That was the signal. Rodriguez keyed her comm. "All ships in Strike Group Zulu, execute Storm Dance Protocol." "I say again, execute Storm Dance." Across the battle space, other stealth destroyers emerged from the squall lines like ghost ships, materializing from legend. Each vessel had been positioned hours earlier, waiting in the storm for this moment. "Weapons free," Rodriguez commanded. "Target their command ship's propulsion systems. Time to show them why humanity's warships are built to survive hurricanes." The rail guns roared to life, their hypervelocity rounds crossing the distance to the alien vessel in seconds. The first shots struck home before the aliens even realized they were under attack. "Direct hits," Tactical reported. Enemy vessels showing signs of severe structural damage. Their shields weren't configured for kinetic impacts. Rodriguez watched as the crystalline surface of the alien ship cracked where the rounds had struck. Their energy shields might stop plasma weapons, but they'd never encountered simple physics delivered at relativistic speeds. Multiple alien vessels attempting to return fire, sensors reported. Energy weapons severely degraded by atmospheric conditions. "Helm, evasive pattern Delta," Rodriguez ordered. "Ride the waves. Let's show them what the storm can do." The Zumwalt's advanced hull design allowed it to slice through waves that would have crippled lesser vessels. While the alien ships fought against the ocean's fury, Rodriguez's vessel danced with it, using the storm's power to their advantage. Admiral Morrison's signals Phase 2 is ready, communications reported. "Request confirmation of enemy positions." Rodriguez studied her tactical display. The alien formation had completely broken down, their ships scattered by the storm and confusion. "Perfect. Signal confirmed. All vessels, switch to targeting package Bravo. Time to spring the trap." The destroyer group's coordinated attack had forced the alien vessels exactly where Admiral Morrison wanted them. Divided, confused, and completely unprepared for what was coming next. "Ma'am." Her sensor operator's voice carried an edge of excitement. Detecting multiple submarine signatures moving into attack position, Rodriguez allowed herself a predatory smile. "Broadcast on all frequencies. Welcome to Earth's oceans, where humanity learned to fight in 3 dimensions long before we reached space. As her rail guns prepared for another salvo, Rodriguez thought about all the aliens' assumptions about primitive human technology. They were about to learn why Earth's Navy still trained for the worst conditions imaginable. In space, no one had to worry about storms, but humanity's warships were built to fight in the teeth of nature's fury, and win. The real battle was just beginning. Commander Mike "Ghost" Sullivan crouched in the dim red lighting of the U.S. Virginia's control room, watching depth readings scroll past on his display. 2 miles above, alien ships struggled against the storm, completely unaware of the predator stalking beneath their formation. Sonar. Multiple contacts holding position at bearing 045. Their drive signatures are weird, sir, like nothing we've ever recorded. Sullivan nodded. They still generating that subsonic harmonic. Aye, sir. Whatever tech they're using to stay afloat, it's noisy as hell underwater. Amateur hour. That was the aliens' first mistake. They'd mastered space travel but never considered that sound travels differently in water. Every alien ship might as well have been broadcasting its position with a bullhorn. Weapons, status on SEAL delivery systems. Green across the board. Sir, SEAL Team 6 is prepped and ready in the chamber. Just say the word. Sullivan checked his tactical display one last time. Admiral Morrison's surface battle had scattered the alien fleet exactly as planned. Now came the part of human naval warfare that would really surprise them. Launch the countermeasure drones, he ordered. Let's give our friends upstairs something to think about. Dozens of small, autonomous underwater vehicles deployed from the Virginia's tubes, each broadcasting signatures that mimicked submarine acoustics. Let the aliens chase ghosts while the real threat moved into position. Sonar. Alien vessels are responding to the decoys. They're redirecting some kind of energy beam into the water. It's not doing much, sir. Just heating up the ocean. Sullivan smiled grimly. The aliens were about to learn why humanity had perfected submarine warfare. Water didn't play nice with energy weapons. All hands, battle stations. Prepare for combat surfacing maneuver Delta. SEAL Team 6, stand by for deployment. The Virginia's crew moved with practiced precision. They'd drilled this countless times, but never against an alien armada. Still, the principles remained the same. Stealth, surprise, and overwhelming force. Sir, his XO's voice was tense. Detecting massive energy spike from the alien flagship. They're trying to boil the ocean. Calm down, XO, Sullivan replied. Basic physics. Do you know how much energy it would take to boil this much water? They're wasting their time. Helm, take us up. Nice and quiet. The Virginia rose through the depths like a ghost, its anechoic tiles absorbing both sonar and the aliens' energy emissions. They were about to demonstrate why Earth's Navy still maintained submarine forces in an age of advanced technology. Range to target. 2,000 yards in closing, sir. We're right underneath their flagship. Sullivan keyed his comm. SEAL Team 6, prepare for underwater deployment. Show these visitors why humans are the galaxy's apex predators in the water. The SEAL team, equipped with advanced underwater combat suits, moved toward the deployment chamber. They were about to attempt something unprecedented, boarding an alien vessel from underwater. Surface detection range in 30 seconds, his XO reported. All tubes, prepare for maximum spread. Target their ventral sections. Bet they never thought they needed strong armor underneath. The Virginia's torpedo tubes flooded, ready to deliver their payload of Mark 48 ADCAP torpedoes. Sometimes the old solutions were still the best. Sir, detecting movement from multiple alien vessels. They're finally starting to look down. Too late, Sullivan smiled. Execute combat surfacing. All tubes fire on my mark. SEAL Team 6, you have a go for deployment. The Virginia burst from the waves like a leviathan, its black hull gleaming in the storm's lightning. Before the alien vessels could react, 12 torpedoes launched in a spread pattern that would have made World War I submariners proud. Message from Admiral Morrison. The hunt is good. Sullivan watched his tactical display as the torpedoes streaked toward their targets. Reply. The Ghost sends its regards. The aliens were about to learn why humanity had spent centuries perfecting the art of underwater warfare. In space, you only had to worry about attacks from certain directions. In Earth's oceans, death could come from anywhere, especially below. As the first torpedoes struck home, Sullivan thought about how the aliens had dismissed human technology as primitive. They were about to discover that sometimes the old ways were still the deadliest. Lieutenant Jessica Pixel Thompson's fingers flew across her quantum interface station aboard the U.S. Gettysburg, her neural implants processing data faster than any normal human could manage. The alien fleet's communications network spread before her like a glowing web, beautiful in its complexity, and catastrophically vulnerable. Their encryption is amazing, she muttered, more to herself than her cyber warfare team. Quantum-locked, multi-dimensional, and completely unprepared for good old-fashioned chaos theory. Ma'am, one of her analysts questioned. They're using quantum entanglement. We shouldn't be able to. That's their mistake. Thompson interrupted, a predatory grin spreading across her face. They built perfect locks but forgot humans specialize in picking them. Launch Viral Package Alpha. The first wave of her attack slipped through the aliens' defenses like water through cracks. They'd created a perfect quantum encryption system, but never considered that someone would simply inject noise into their entire command and control structure. Signal hit confirmed, her senior analyst reported. Their targeting systems are showing thousands of false positives. They're actually trying to shoot at our decoys. Thompson allowed herself a small laugh. Upload historical package Bravo. Let's show them why you don't mess with a species that turned electronic warfare into an art form. Across the alien fleet, command screens began displaying something they'd never encountered. Centuries of human naval warfare footage. Battles from Salamis to Midway to the drone wars of 2039 flooded their systems, overwhelming their threat assessment protocols. They're attempting to isolate their networks. Quantum signatures shifting to. Already on it. Thompson cut in, her neural implants glowing blue beneath her skin. Initiating Operation Ghost Fleet. This was her masterpiece, developed after studying the aliens' communication patterns. Their ships didn't just share targeting data. They shared everything. One compromised system meant access to all of them. Beginning broadcast now, she announced. All frequencies, all channels. Let's see how they handle the voices of history. The battle horns of 1,000 fallen warships echoed through the aliens' communications. From ancient triremes to modern destroyers, humanity's naval legacy became a weapon in itself. Each phantom vessel in their targeting computers carried the voice of a different ship lost in combat, a digital ghost army rising from humanity's martial past. Their flagship is attempting a complete systems reset. An analyst called out, "They're trying to purge our code." Thompson's hands danced across her interface. Perfect. Initiate Viral Package Delta. Let's show them why humanity's hackers are feared across every digital network on Earth. The aliens' reset attempt backfired spectacularly as Thompson's code infiltrated their core systems. Their quantum-encrypted networks, designed to be impenetrable, had never faced an enemy that used the encryption itself as a weapon. Signal from Admiral Morrison, her comm officer reported. Is the ghost in the machine? Tell him the machine is ours, Thompson replied, watching as alien ship after alien ship lost control of their targeting systems. And remind our friends up there why humanity's greatest weapon was never our guns. It was our ability to turn an enemy's strength against them. On her tactical display, alien vessels began firing at phantom targets, their sophisticated weapons tracking ships that didn't exist. Their perfect formation dissolved into chaos as each captain saw a different tactical picture, each one more terrifying than the last. Energy spike from multiple alien vessels. They're trying to burn through our interference. Let them try, Thompson smiled, her neural implants pulsing with accumulated data. Upload our final surprise. Show them what happens when they challenge a species that turned electronic warfare into a symphony. The aliens' final attempt to regain control of their networks triggered Thompson's trap. Their quantum communication system, the pride of their fleet, became their greatest vulnerability. Each ship began broadcasting all its data to every other ship simultaneously, creating a cascade of information that overwhelmed their processors. Message to all ships, Thompson broadcast, her voice carrying across the now chaotic alien fleet. Welcome to humanity's digital ocean. The water's fine, if you know how to swim. The real-world battle was still raging, but in the digital domain, humanity had already won. Sometimes the best weapons weren't the ones that destroyed ships, but the ones that made them destroy themselves. Admiral Morrison watched from the U.S. Gerald R. Ford's Combat Information Center as his master plan entered its next phase. The aliens had laughed at the concept of aircraft carriers, calling them primitive launch platforms. Now they would learn why carriers had dominated Earth's oceans for over a century. All squadrons, this is CAG. Captain Emily Raptor Winter's voice crackled over the command channel. Execute Operation Valkyrie. I repeat, Operation Valkyrie is go. The flight deck erupted into controlled chaos as F-35 Lightning IIs and F/A-44 Phantoms launched in perfect sequence. Each pilot had trained countless hours for this moment, perfecting the art of combat in Earth's challenging atmosphere. Enemy vessels adjusting shields to upper hemisphere, Tactical reported. They're expecting a standard attack run. Morrison smiled. Signal Captain Winters. Execute Stormweave. Above the churning ocean, the fighter squadrons split into their attack formations. Unlike space combat, atmospheric fighting required an understanding of wind currents, weather patterns, and aerodynamics. Elements that the alien vessels had never needed to consider. First wave approaching target, Winters reported. Initiating electronic warfare suite. They're taking the bait. The alien sensors detected the incoming fighters and responded predictably, focusing their energy weapons skyward. They never saw the real threat until it was too late. Ghost Squadron, you are cleared hot, Winters commanded. Show them why we still train for nap of the earth flying. A dozen stealth fighters screamed in mere feet above the waves, using the ocean's radar signature to mask their approach. As the aliens focused on the high-altitude threat, the low-level strike package slipped under their defenses. Impact in 3, 2, 1. The first wave of missiles struck home, specifically designed to exploit the weak points in the alien shield geometry. They'd never considered that someone would attack from below the wave's height. Multiple hits confirmed. Tactical's voice was triumphant. Enemy shields failing on ventral sections. Morrison keyed his comm. Launch the drones. All squadrons, execute Phase 2. Hundreds of combat drones deployed from the carrier's launch systems, each one operating on advanced AI algorithms developed through decades of naval aviation experience. The aliens targeting computers, already compromised by Thompson's cyber attack, couldn't distinguish between human pilots and AI aircraft. Sir, his XO reported, the alien flagship is attempting to launch their own fighters. Perfect. Let's show them why carrier operations require more than just technology. Signal all ECM platforms. Begin jamming offensive. The alien fighters emerged from their bays, sleek and powerful, and completely unprepared for atmospheric combat. They'd trained for the sterile environment of space, not the complex dance of wind currents and gravity. Raptor Squadron, engage at will, Winters ordered. Remember your training. They don't know how to handle atmospheric turbulence. The resulting dogfight was unlike anything in human history. American fighters, designed for the complexities of atmospheric combat, ran rings around the alien craft. Every trick learned since the dawn of aerial warfare came into play. Split S maneuvers, Immelman turns, and tactics that hadn't changed since World War I. Enemy fighters withdrawing, Tactical reported. They've lost 40% of their squadron. Morrison watched as the alien vessels struggled to adapt. Their energy weapons, so devastating in space, proved less effective in Earth's thick atmosphere. Meanwhile, human missiles and rail guns continued to find their marks. "Sir," his comm officer called out. Message from Captain Winters. "The old birds still have teeth." Reply. "Remind them why humanity never abandoned atmospheric combat training," Morrison ordered. He turned to his tactical display, watching as the combined fighter and drone strikes systematically dismantled the alien fleet's upper defenses. The aliens had made a critical mistake. They'd assumed that carrier warfare was obsolete, that their advanced technology made atmospheric combat unnecessary. Instead, they were learning why Earth's navies still maintained massive aerial combat forces. "All squadrons," Morrison broadcast, "execute final attack pattern. Show them why we call it the carrier's dance." Above the storm-tossed ocean, hundreds of aircraft moved in lethal synchronization, proving that sometimes the oldest forms of warfare remained the most effective. The aliens were about to learn that dismissing primitive technology was the last mistake many would-be conquerors had made. Captain David Ironside Martin stood on the bridge of the U.S. Arleigh Burke, salt spray stinging his face as he watched the alien formation crumble. Through the storm's fury, he could see their crystalline ships struggling to maintain position, exactly what he'd been waiting for. "Helm, bring us to heading 270, he ordered. "Engineering, give me everything you've got. It's time to show these visitors why they call me Ironside." "Sir." Enemy vessel at 2 o'clock, attempting to reform their line, his XO reported. Martinez nodded, a predatory smile crossing his weathered face. "Perfect. Helm, plot intercept course. Let's show them something they've never seen before." The Arleigh Burke surged forward, its reinforced bow cutting through 30-foot waves. Unlike the alien vessels, which fought against the ocean's fury, Martinez's destroyer embraced it, using the storm's power to add momentum to their charge. "Sir, they're charging weapons," Tactical called out. "Let them," Martinez replied calmly. "Execute crossing the T maneuver, just like we practiced." The destroyer group moved with precision that would have made Admiral Nelson proud. Each ship took its position, creating a wall of steel that cut across the alien formation's path. It was a tactic as old as sail warfare, and one the aliens had never encountered. "Multiple energy weapon signatures," sensors reported. "They're trying to target our bridge." "Negative impact," Martinez announced as the alien beams dissipated in the driving rain. "Guess they never learned why we still armor our ships. All vessels, prepare for close-quarters combat." The alien commander's voice boomed across all frequencies. "Your primitive ramming tactics are futile. Our shields." Martinez cut the transmission with a gesture. "Show them why we built these ships strong enough to survive collisions. All ahead flank." The Arleigh Burke's engines roared as the destroyer charged straight at the nearest alien vessel. The aliens, accustomed to the sterile precision of space combat, had never faced an enemy willing to risk physical contact. "Impact in 10 seconds, his XO shouted. "Sir, they're not moving." "They think their shields will hold," Martinez grinned. "Time to teach them about kinetic energy. All hands, brace for impact." The destroyer's reinforced bow struck the alien shield at 30 knots. Physics took over. The alien's energy shield, designed to deflect energy weapons, did nothing against thousands of tons of steel backed by raw momentum. "Direct hit," Tactical reported with barely contained excitement. "Their shield matrix is collapsing." "Now they know why we still build our ships tough," Martinez declared. "All vessels, execute break and clear. Fire everything we've got into that breach." The destroyer group's guns roared in unison, rail guns and conventional weapons pouring fire into the gap they'd created. The alien vessel's crystalline surface began to crack under the assault. Sir, other enemy ships are breaking formation, his XO reported. They're trying to create distance. Not happening. Martinez keyed his comm. All vessels, execute Operation Broken Wave. Show them why humans still practice close-quarters naval combat. His destroyer group moved like dancers in a lethal ballet, each ship using the storm's fury to add power to their maneuvers. They'd trained for this, running combat drills in the worst conditions Earth could produce. Multiple alien vessels attempting emergency ascent, sensors called out. They're trying to get above the storm. Martinez watched as the alien ships struggled to escape, their sophisticated technology proving useless against simple physics and centuries of naval combat experience. Send to Admiral Morrison, he ordered. The old ways still work. Request permission to pursue and engage. The reply came instantly. Permission granted. Remind them why humanity's warships are built to take a punch. Martinez turned to his crew, pride evident in his voice. Ladies and gentlemen, today we prove why naval tradition isn't about holding on to the past. It's about learning from it. Helm, plot pursuit course. Let's teach these visitors why Earth's oceans have been the graveyard of overconfident enemies since the first ship set sail. The battle was far from over, but the aliens were learning a harsh lesson. Sometimes the oldest forms of warfare remain the most effective, especially when backed by centuries of hard-won experience. Admiral Morrison stood on the Gerald R. Ford's bridge, watching the remains of the once proud Krethak fleet through rain-streaked windows. Their crystalline ships, now cracked and battered, had formed a defensive circle, a far cry from their arrogant attack formation hours earlier. Signal from the alien flagship, Lieutenant Wells reported. They're requesting a ceasefire, sir. Put them through to the bridge, Morrison ordered, straightening his uniform. Let's hear what they have to say. The alien commander's voice emerged, no longer filled with contempt, but with something approaching respect. Admiral Morrison, we request terms. First, acknowledge Earth's waters as sovereign territory, Morrison replied calmly. Then we can discuss the terms of your withdrawal. A pause then. We have miscalculated. Your species' mastery of naval combat exceeds anything in our records. We assumed technological superiority guaranteed victory. Morrison allowed himself a small smile. That's a common mistake. Signal all vessels. Hold position but maintain combat readiness. Around the alien fleet, Earth's naval forces had created a perfect containment formation. Submarines lurked beneath the waves, destroyers maintained their firing positions, and aircraft circled overhead like birds of prey. Sir, his XO reported, damage assessment from Lieutenant Thompson's cyber warfare attack shows their command and control systems are still compromised. They couldn't resume combat operations even if they wanted to. Morrison nodded. Send to all commanding officers. The sea sends its regards. Status reports began flooding in. Captain Winter's air wings reported minimal losses despite heavy combat. Commander Sullivan's submarines had crippled 3 alien capital ships. Lieutenant Thompson's cyber assault had rendered their targeting systems useless. Captain Martinez's destroyer group had proven that sometimes the old ways were still best. Admiral, the alien commander spoke again. We request permission to observe your naval operations. As students, not enemies, the Krethak Dominion has much to learn about warfare in planetary conditions. Morrison exchanged glances with his senior staff. That can be arranged. But first, a demonstration of good faith. All your vessels will power down weapon systems and submit to inspection by our boarding teams. You would trust us to honor such terms. Trust but verify. An old Earth saying, Morrison replied. And a reminder, you're still in our waters. Don't make us demonstrate any more of our capabilities. The alien ships began powering down one by one, their crystalline surfaces dulling as energy signatures dropped to minimal levels. Morrison watched on his tactical display as SEAL teams began their boarding operations, supervised by Commander Sullivan's submarines. Sir, His XO spoke quietly. Recommend we maintain combat readiness until all alien vessels are secured. They might still have a few surprises. Agreed. Signal all commands. Maintain battle stations. This isn't over until they're escorted out of Earth's waters. Hours later, as the storm began to clear, Morrison stood in his ready room composing his report to Fleet Command. How do you explain to history that humanity's primitive navy had just defeated a technologically superior alien force? The answer was simple. They'd forgotten that technology alone doesn't win battles. Experience, tradition, and adaptation. These were humanity's true weapons. Message from SEAL Team 6, his comm officer reported. Alien vessel inspections complete. They're finding this hard to believe, sir, but the aliens are taking notes, literally studying our tactics and asking questions about naval history. Morrison laughed. Send to all commands. Victory has 1,000 fathers, but defeat is an orphan. Today, every sailor, pilot, and submariner who ever served earned this victory. The sun finally broke through the clouds, illuminating the battered but undefeated human fleet. They had faced humanity's first extraterrestrial naval battle and emerged victorious not through superior technology, but through the accumulated wisdom of centuries of maritime warfare. Sir, his XO appeared at the door. The alien commander is requesting permission to establish a permanent naval liaison office. They want to learn from us. Morrison smiled. Tell them we'll consider it. After all, the ocean is the greatest teacher any navy could ask for. We just had a few thousand years head start in learning its lessons. The Battle of Earth's Oceans, as it would come to be known, marked not just a victory for humanity, but a revolution in galactic military doctrine. Sometimes the old ways weren't obsolete. They were just waiting for the right moment to prove their worth.